Hi everyone, this is the part 3 of this video, this series Nest.js with Auth0, and in this video we are going to talk about role-based authorization in Auth0, using Nest.js APIs. So you might be wondering what I'm doing on client side, like the Next.js or React.js. We are just using this client ID and a client secret, and this is being used with the NextAuth. So in the Next.js we can use a NextAuth to provide external authentication, and here I'm configuring the auth ID and secret ID and auth issuer. So it will give me just one button. Using that I can just log in with Auth0, and my Next.js API routes will manage the session whatever is returned from the Auth0. So Next.js here is an example. There can be React, Angular, any CSR or any SSR application. If you are doing it in the CSR, you got the access token. Now all the APIs will carry that. Here we are using SSR, Next.js, so the session will be managed at the server side. And if you have any external microservices, then to talk to those microservices, you need to forward this same session, same access token to them, so that they can return you the data. Because maybe not each and every application manages whole data or whole APIs in the Next.js itself. You may be talking to external microservices to fetch the rest of the other information. For that, to validate, you need to pass that in the authorization header. So this is how it simply look like. I have auth client ID on auth secret, next auth secret and next auth URL. And this is my Auth0 issuer, tksharma.auth0.com. This is my route, and this is my Auth0 options, right? Here, this is the place where I'm configuring Auth0 settings. That's it. So this is how my Auth0 client look like. Okay. This client can be CSR and SSR, anything. Now that's not the point. Here we are going to talk about how we can do role-based authorization using Nest.js when user has already been logged in using this Next.js application and some role has already been assigned to him. So coming back to this same diagram, you already authenticated, you have access token, you are just using that same token to access the APIs. So we already got the user session information in the request object. Request.user contains that. So to reach to the controller method, now what we need to do, we also have the user role. So this is how it works. Let's say this user onboarding and assign role, that is a little bit external, because here we are creating user in Auth0. Now how we are creating it, that should be a totally separate topic. You need to find out, you need to provide some way where user can log into Auth0. Or you can also use this external authentication provider like login with the Google, Facebook. So you don't need to just do the sign up. But sometimes user wants to use this email and the password, right? For those kind of users, you need to first create them here. So let's say I have created one user here. These are the user and these are the roles. How can I create a roles in the Auth0? You can just create a new roles also. Go to the roles. You can create admin, user, guest, and you can assign the role also to a particular user. So let's say this is the user. Here this is the meta information, user metadata and app metadata, and here in the role I can assign you the role also, like creator. I can delete this and I can assign you the new role, admin. So this role based assignment is something, this particular part we need to manage somehow. Okay, first of all, user onboarding and assigning a role to the user. Like here I have assigned a role, creator. Now once the role is assigned, I just need to figure out a way to receive this role information in my Nest.js APIs after I decode the token. So for that we can use a hooks and rules in Auth0. That is just to enrich the token. Okay. This is deciding what all information your token will contain when you decode it. So here we can set, okay, I want to set an email, app metadata, I can set the roles, whatever the information you wanted to store or put that inside a token so that the receiver can decode it. All those information you can set here using the rules. This rule is enrich token. That means whatever the token has, I wanted to enrich it with the roles. So line 16 and line 17, here I'm setting the app metadata. App metadata data can contain some permission attributes. And this line 16 contains the role. This is the role like admin, user, creator, authorizer, any kind of roles which are configured in your application. So those roles I'm configuring. I have assigned a creator role to this user. So once user logs in and we decode the token in the Nest.js side, we should be able to receive these roles and app metadata. There can be another additional attributes which we wanted to have and which we wanted to play with in the user session. I mean, role is not enough. Sometimes the additional metadata is also required to authorize at a granular permissions. For that we can use app metadata. So here we will do the sign in with Auth0 again, and here I'm going to use username password. So I have my account already created and role is also assigned to this user. So this is my Next.js application and I got the token. So I will just get the token from the session and I will try to decode this token through the jwt.io that gives what you have in your token. So here I will try to check what information I have, and I got it. So I have the role information here in this attribute and the app metadata. These two informations are really very important because using these additional attributes which are set for this user, I can do lots of things at the API level like authorization and maybe permission controls at sub level, because once you provide the permissions at API levels, I can also check the low level permissions. Okay, this user is allowed being administrator to do this or not, right? The policy levels. Now we are using the same token to authorize, and here this is what I'm getting in the code. You can see this is the role information, this is the app metadata, this is what I want. In the whatever the role I have assigned at Auth0, I should be able to get that role, and once I receive the role, I should be able to play with that role in the APIs, because that is what I want to do. Now we got the role information, so this is what the information I'm returning. So I'm returning only role, email and Auth0 ID, and the same information I'm setting at the in the request.user. So this is my session, the role, email and Auth0 ID. And now once this role information is populated, I can create auth guard to protect the routes and allow and disallow particular routes. Now we just need to configure the role guard, like use guards role guard. Role guard will have activation guard and the role allowed. These are the two decorators, because we also need to tell the role guard that these are the roles for which I want to allow this API. So role guard and role guard and this role allowed, these are the two decorators. First of all, role allowed. This role guard implements can activate, and if you see here, we just going to have a can activate method, and inside this method we are just going to access what all roles you want to allow this user, and this particular user has that particular role or not. So there is a role allowed attribute, role allowed decorator, that's a custom decorator that is just setting what all roles can access this particular route. So in this role guard we need to get that what we have configured, what all roles can access it, and what this user actually has the roles. So we have two arrays, one may be a string, and we just need to check the user role contains that role information or not, which is set as allowed. So here we just need to create a role enum, I guess. Export enum role. We are just talking about just admin and user, and then get this is line number 14 will give you the current roles which are set in the decorator, otherwise it's empty. And now we will also get the roles information which are set in the session. If this role length is 0, that means there is no roles are set and everybody can access it. There is no role allowed array is set here. It's an empty string or it's not even configured. That means there is no, we don't need to apply the role logic here. Everybody can access it. This is the role allowed. What we are doing in the role allowed is, this is just a decorator which is setting the metadata roles in the application. If you see this now, this role allowed is just doing is whatever the roles you are passing, it is using set metadata method and it is setting that role value inside roles metadata. And this metadata using Reflector API, we can access and we can get what all roles has been configured for this user, for this API route, so that the user can access. So here inside a role controller, we'll just import. We have a role guard, we will fix the import path. So that is inside core decorators. This is the role allowed decorator, and this is just an enum, and then we have a role guard. So inside the role guard we have created this role guard, and here inside the role guard we also need to write more logic. Now we will get what role is assigned to the user. So first of all, for that we need to access the request object, because role information for the user is inside a request.user session. So here we got the request.user user role. We got the session user, and we are just checking if that user has the role which has been set in the allowed or not. So it's just like a basic array check we are doing here, if that user has that particular role or not. And here we are setting the role. So here we are setting the user role session information, and here we are just checking off if this user having these many roles is allowed to access this API or not. Okay, so this is what we are returning. This is just a boolean. It is returning boolean can activate. Now let's check this. What I am doing is role allowed. So here I just added a super admin, which is not the role which this user has, right? Maybe super admin or administrator, these are the roles only this can access this particular API. And now I will try to see by hitting this API with the user who has an admin role only can access this or not. Here I'm adding a role guard on all the APIs, role guard, use guard, role guard, use guard. So all the APIs are now protected with the guards. And now here I can just set the authorization, and you can see forbidden resource on the create API, because only super admin can access that API. You can see super admin is allowed to access this API, and the current role which user has in session is the admin only. So we are debugging here. Okay, these are the roles are allowed, and auth ID, these are the session object. So this has role is returning false because user is not satisfying the condition. User.roles, and now I will just, this is the forbidden. Now I will change the controller, and I will just change this to admin, just to play with this now, because user role is admin and role allowed is also admin. That means now user should be able to access all the APIs, because user role is admin and role allowed is also admin. And I can create the restaurant, I can list the restaurant, all the APIs are working. So here you can see the user role is admin and the role allowed is also admin, so I can access it. Okay, so this is the overall demo of how role based authorization works with Auth0, and this is divided into 3 parts. This is like a 3-part series which is part of the Nest.js advanced course. So I will also attach the GitHub link and all the reference links, so please take a look and get familiar with the authorization and authentication both with Auth0 and Nest.js.